Agentic finance is the future, and it will be enabled with Ariadne as the computational platform for intelligent agents to create and compute financial terms. Ariadne will be used by agents to create, negotiate, analyze and risk manage any financial instrument and any portfolio of financial instruments. Agentic finance applications from financing, to asset liability management, to portfolio construction, and securitization will be enabled by Ariadne. Financial analysis and risk, from simple accounting to rocket science analysis, will empower financial agents and supercharge human decision-making in finance. Ariadne separates the deterministic problems space from the probabilistic problems space, which is a key factor for successful use of AI in finance. It is important to understand that risk factors and the model of the world which participants in the financial system have, is clearly a probabilistic problem space. In this area, predictive AI, statistics and generative AI can help improve the understanding of risk factors. Finance can be compared to a state machine. This state machine is dependent on probabilistic inputs and models. However, the granular component of finance are deterministically defined financial contracts. Without deterministic definitions of financial contracts, computers would not be able to calculate payment obligations of participants in financial systems. Probabilistic AI technology is not useful in deterministic environments. Probabilistic agents are unlikely to be able to agree on deterministic constructs. In analysis, risk and simulations, predictive AI and generative AI can play a role again, enhancing human decision-making. Let's dive into the topic by imagining how companies will obtain financing in the future. Alice, the CFO of Silverline Incorporated, will use agentic systems to procure a new credit line for her company. Alice is looking to obtain working capital financing. Her ideal terms for a $25 million loan are a target duration of 48 months, a fixed interest rate and no penalties for early payment. Alice is soliciting an agentic finance specialist who is supposed to find her the best rates and the most competitive financial terms from a reliable and sound banking partner. Alice's finance agent is contacting another finance agent. This finance agent is acting on behalf of Bob, an underwriter at Peak Bank in the corporate credit department. Bob instructs his finance agent to offer the Peak Bank standard terms of $20 million, a duration of 36 months. Variable interest rates, and advises to include penalties for early repayment. The Peak finance agent is then defining a financial contract with a financial term sheet by using the Ariadne Analytics software. Once the deterministic financial contract is consistently defined and checked for completeness by Analytics, the Peak financial agent obtains the most up-to-date risk information on the counterparty, which is Silverline Incorporated. Then it assesses the current and expected future states of markets, including interest rate risks, yield curves and FX risk. The Peak financial agent also uses public and proprietary Peak Bank corporate client data to assess if the CFO of Silverline Company is likely to repay the loans early, or may want to refinance during the term. The Peak financial agent is using Ariadne Analytics in order to create static and dynamic models based on the risk factor inputs. The reports and models created are easy to understand and assess liquidity at risk, earnings at risk, and value at risk. Bob, the underwriter at Peak Finance, can intervene at any time, or just provide more guidance and instructions to the Peak Bank agent to iterate on the credit conditions until the guidelines of the bank's credit and risk committee are met. Once the Peak finance agent and, if necessary, Bob, the underwriter at Peak Bank, is satisfied with its risk assessment, the Peak Bank agent and the agent representing Alice, the CFO of Silverline, will start negotiating the terms with each other. The finance agent used by Alice also utilizes Analytics in order to check the consistency and the correctness of the financial terms offered by the Peak Bank agent. When the Silverline agent receives the initial offer by the Peak Bank agent, it starts soliciting public and private data available on Peak Bank with respect to the soundness of its balance sheet, historical performance and any current news about the bank. In real time, it adds information on the current market outlook, interest rate risks and FX risks to the analysis it will provide to Alice, the CFO. The Silverline agent deploys Ariadne analytics to determine the impact of the financial terms offered from Peak Bank on the balance sheet of the Silverline company and whether the financial terms are acceptable. At any time, Alice can check the calculations of the agent and consume reports which project cash flows, profit and loss and balance sheets into the future. After several more iterations of negotiations of the AI agents including real-time and parallel risk analyses, the agents finally settle on financial terms. These contract terms are based on the open-source Actus financial standard and build the indisputable, verifiable financial agreement for the exchange of cash flows by the parties. The financial terms agreed to by the agents are $20 million credit limit, a duration of 42 months and variable interest rates. Alice and the Silverline agent were able to negotiate no penalties for any early repayments. Both parties can now sign the contract documents. Alice is very happy to have had very little work in negotiations while at the same time having real-time projections of the impact on her company's balance sheet by the terms which were being negotiated between the agents. Bob, the bank underwriter, is even happier that he was able to close a new customer with the help of the Peak Bank AI agent. Thanks to the consistent definitions used in Solytics, he can be sure that all calculations were correct, and thanks to Ariadne Analytics he was able to continuously assess the impact on the bank's credit portfolio, with robust forward-looking projections. Bob can ensure that the bank will meet the capital requirements imposed by its risk committee and the regulator. Upon signing, the financial contract is moved from a staging and computation environment at the bank to its productive lifecycle management and core banking systems, where it is now reliably lifecycle managed by Solytics. The Peak Bank Finance agent will continue to monitor all risk factors related to the Silverline credit facility, and provide any analysis from simple accounting to dynamic what-if and rocket science analysis.